Sorry. It's the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Kia koe. Tēnā rā koutou pō waitaka o tō tātou mātou tīpuna, ka me nui ki te mihi atu ki tō tātou mātou nui te raki, a koe i te timataka me te kau te keo tau katoa, no reira ka me iau ki te kai homai o ka me pai katoa. E mihi atu kia koutou, tēnei te mihi o te kora matua, Eliane, e koutou rā o te kore matua tuatahi, Andrew, e mihi atu mō tō mema o te pātako rākai hautu, nā mihi. E koutou rā, e ka rakatira o te kaunihera autautahi, tēnā koutou I mihi atu kia koutou katoa. Ko waiau, ko tūtahau nuku kōraka o ahau, e tūpoka ari ki aora ki o tamauka teitei o tūmai ake kei uta mai ki taua waitaki ki ka karawhi ripo tūmatau eka. E tainoa, o te pātawhito o te kōhaka kai awaro, no maru a mauka tere, mauka whakaruru hau o nai tūahuriri. E mi atu kia koe o te rakatira kaika o te pātako rākai hautu o kokorarata o nuku wairewa taumotu o te pito o tāo rāpaki o te raki whakaputa. Anō reira, e koutou rā, tēnā koutou e mihi atu kia koutou katoa. Can I first of all just introduce to you our representation here, Mahaanui Kurataiao, but also I'd like to introduce the kaihautu of Mahaanui, Henrietta Carroll, who is also Wairewa, Mana Whenua, Tangata Whenua, and the Turunango Naitahu representative from Wairewa. Also, kaumātua, experienced man here, Theo Bunker, from also Wairewa. I'm representing as the spokesperson here, not only Mahaanui Kurataiao, but also Ngā Runanga, and as a mana whenua across Tuahuriri, Kokorarata, Rāpaki o te raki whakaputa, and Onuku. So between us now, what we would like to do is first of all turn your attention, and being conscientious councillors, I'm sure that you've all read this paper. So what I'd just like to do is and the paper is a proposal for a new policy on Māori freehold land. So basically taking the paper as read, and the summary itself, just to say that you would have also seen that what we have is actually a lot of tautoko for the policy itself. What we don't have actually, we don't actually tautoko the fact is that it's about the text itself. So if you've read through the paper, there is the background, there is the part on landowners and who those landowners are, or mana whenua, and then the introduction, and also the policy objectives, and also highlighting the fact that this came about from a local government rating of Whenua Māori Amendment Act 2021. And basically, within that act, there are some missing sections within this policy, which we've actually highlighted. So what we come to you with is not only our highlighting the concerns that we have and what we don't agree with, but we've also come to you with solutions as well. And so basically what you see there is in the conclusion, Ngā Runanga actually submitting a solution itself. So that is pretty much our submission overview. Probably just to finish off with the fact of 3 words. Kāwanataka, tino rakatirataka, and mana mutahake. And one thing, as you will all know, kāwanataka is governance, tino rakatirataka is sovereignty and pretty much being in charge of our own destiny, and mana mutahake is actually about self-determination and independence. Kāwanataka should never ever sit above any of those. If anything, they should be sitting actually side by side. What reflects in this paper here is that kāwanataka is actually at the top of this. So that's just an observation that we've presented to you by way of what I've just said. So we'll pass it back to you, Leanne, and we'll take any questions.
So the first issue is this question about recognising the terms of the settlement in the context of our own policy statement. So I think that, would you like to just speak to that? Because not all councillors will be fully aware of the terms of the settlement. And I know that I'm asking you to do something that should be taken for granted, but I just would like, in your own words, to describe it's wording within the treaty, within the Settlement Act that establishes this, and it's really to in a public setting to really sort of set that as the context for the rest of what you are requesting us to do. Is that okay?
Well, I think the question is actually, where does this sit actually within the settlement? Is that right?
Well, the Settlement Act is explicit for Ngāi Tahu in relation to tino rangatiratanga.
Okay.
So, and that is really the foundation stone for the submission. That's the way I read it. So, if I've got that wrong, then perhaps comment on that as well.
Well, I think just looking at that, and I'm going to hand to you if you want to just supplement this. But I think there's 2 things that we need to look at here. One is the fact is that our agent actually is under the Settlement Act, which is Ngā Runanga. Now, always keep in mind that we're talking about mana whenua. We're actually talking about landowners. And so the difference between that to always understand is that the agent of tangata whenua is actually the Ngāi Tahu Treaty Settlement Act.
Right.
The agent of mana whenua, though, is Te Turu Whenua Māori Land Act 1993. So I think that, hopefully that explains the difference between mana whenua and tangata whenua. That's why it was important that we actually said right at the beginning is that we don't only represent tangata whenua, we represent mana whenua.
Yes. Yeah. No, I was clear about that, and you presented it as such, but I just wanted everyone around the table to be absolutely clear. Do we have any questions?
Could I just add something?
Oh, yes, please.
Just to help with the context, and coming directly from that, and I'll just say it. The Crown apologises to Ngāi Tahu for its past failures to acknowledge Ngāi Tahu rangatiratanga and mana over the South Island Islands within its boundaries and in fulfilment of its treaty obligations. The Crown recognises Ngāi Tahu as the tangata whenua of, and as in holding rangatiratanga within, the takiwa of Ngāi Tahu whānui. So that's why we will put that in these documents to recognise that action.
That is unique to the Ngāi Tahu settlement, is the way I understand it. Yeah.
So it's important that the council recognises that as well.
Kia ora. Tia banka Warewa Runanga, Onoku Runanga. My dad's buried at Onoku, my mother's buried at Warewa, so that means I'll be buried at the hilltop. Just one thing to come back to the whakapapa, to the history, and beyond Ngāi Tahu claim, is that all of those addresses in the schedule and all of those addresses that are under the rating policy all sprang from the original land settlement claims of Port Cooper, which was Littleton, Port Levy, which is Kokararata, and Akaroa, which was the Wairewa Akaroa settlement. These all relate directly back to the reserves that were left as a result of the mid-1900 settlement. And each of those areas, for instance, in the Akaroa purchase, which I can speak from experience, born in Akaroa, that there was a reserve of 440 hectares at Onoku. There was a reserve of 440 hectares at Wainui or Puketahi. There were 400 acres at Wairewa, where I come from as well. So in the Akaroa purchase, what was left was 400 or so acres in each of those localities under the one Akaroa purchase heading. Since that time, those lands have been diminished down through various changes in legislation, etc., etc. And if you take the Wairewa portion of the 440 hectares, there's only half left in Māori ownership. And the problem we've got with these ratings is the fact that we have multi-ownership of those lands. Small portions of land, large ownership. And that leads to the complications that you have as a council in applying the rating system. I don't believe that any of those reserves, being a settlement back in prior to Ngāi Tahu claims, should be rated at all. In fact, it was a 440 hectares of reserve given back to tangata whenua, mana whenua. Why would the Crown then later come along and tax it or put rates on it? It's as simple as that, really. Okay. So that's, some of that whakapapa coming through to the Ngāi Tahu claim, but we're still sitting on multi-ownership land. Some of those lands have, 200 owners in them. And for you to try and determine who are the owners, or how we get to the owners, the Māori Land Court's been trying to settle that for centuries and hasn't achieved it. I can tell you that I've been working on this for 5 years and they don't have those records. And I doubt whether you do as well.
No. I think that, this amendment to the policy is designed to meet our obligations, which we're committed to in terms of the local government amendment and the Rating Act amendment that went through last year. And that's the intention. But you're saying that we have, in adopting the language that we've adopted, that we have not met the intention of the legislation.
You go there.
I'm just checking, I just want to be really clear because, we'll get some advice, but from your perspective, the changes that we're making don't meet our obligations under the Act, or are you saying that they meet the obligations under the Act and you are asking us to actually review that and go further?
I think that's actually tied up in what we're recommending.
Right.
That actually alleviates exactly what you're saying. That addresses it. And we've actually based that on what our solution to that issue is.
Right. So we will take advice on this as part of our consideration of this policy rather, because we're doing the policy engagement or consultation at the same time as we're doing the annual plan, with the intention that it takes effect from the 1st of July. All right?
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you. Thank you all, and thank everyone for coming. I think you said at the end that Rapaki was at the top of the the representation.
No, I just acknowledged the beauty of yeah, that's what I was doing.
Fair enough.
And the beauty of all these other wonderful places that we all come from and whakapapa into as well.
I know, and this is my last term as mayor, so I kind of wanted to acknowledge you all for coming to present on this policy. It has had support right across the board. So, you know, the policy will change. We'll take advice on the elements that you've raised, and I think that's a good thing. So, thank you very much for presenting today.
Kia ora, Leanne, and can we just say that, you know, we feel a lot of whakamana here that, you know, we're in front of you as possibly one of the last times for us. So I can surely speak on behalf of the people in this room here and our whānau at Rapaki is that we'd like to acknowledge the tautoko, the support that you've given us all the way through. Sitting in this this house here, this whare of hononga, to me and to us reflects why Ngāi Tahu gifted that name, symbolic recognition and a testament to partnership. E mi atu kia koutou.
Kia ora.
Hallelujah. O te mangai he tautoko mai. Anō reira, āpiti hono tātai hono rātou ki tonga mate ki a rātou. Āpiti hono tātai hono tātou ki te honga ora ki a tātou. Koutou rā, tēnā koutou, e mihi atu kia koutou katoa. Kia ora.
Oh, the next one is John.